And on behalf of the board, the staff, and the volunteers, I want to welcome you to our Community Artists Project featuring O'Hara Shipe and her work, One Story, Many Voices. Today I come to you not from the stages of the Performing Arts Center where I would be live and in person. I'm coming to you from my living room in my home here in Anchorage, Alaska, on the lands of the Dena'ina Athabascan people of Alaska. This pandemic has forced the Concert Association, like so many other organizations, to innovate and improvise. We work to gather sometimes thousands of people into the Performing Arts Center to see live performance from musicians and artists and talented people from across the globe. Unfortunately, the pandemic has made that all but impossible for us, for now. Instead, we have sought to shine a light on the work of the incredibly talented local musicians that we have here in Anchorage, and there are so many of them. We want these artists to work in community, to heal, and generally make our community a better place to be. That is why the Anchorage Concert Association created the Community Artist Projects. We've worked with 4 artists already this year, and if you want more information about these other projects, you can go to our website, anchorageconcerts.org, for more information. One Story, Many Voices was created by O'Hara Shipe and is a mini documentary of intimate performances and interviews with Anchorage-based musicians Photonak and The Force That Never Sleeps. It provides a place for artists to perform their music and explore themes of mental health, creativity, inspiration, and finding community in these unparalleled times. The audience will be able to hear about the healing power of music and experience it for themselves. This project highlights talented local musicians while providing a message of hope for those who are struggling with feelings of isolation, depression, and hopelessness. More than anything, we all here at the Concert Association look forward to the time when we can gather again in person in the concert halls of the Performing Arts Center. Before we can get back to that, we ask that you do what you can to maintain the healthy practices. Wash your hands. Stay 6
I'm James
feet
Frederick,
apart.
Community
Wear a
Engagement
mask
Director for the Anchorage Concert Association. We are here this morning at...
By abiding by all of these health and safety tips, we will hasten the time it takes to get back to being in person at the Performing Arts Center. In the meantime, we have this wonderful streaming performance that we want to share with you. It is my great pleasure to turn it over to O'Hara Shipe for her work, One Story, Many Voices. Symbol over there.
You know what? It's really challenging to write happy songs. I don't know why. I've tried, but I always feel like I can't be serious about it.
Life is like a dream, a world of make-believe. I liken what I see to worlds within your reach. I cannot decide decisions that you write, but I can let you know that you are not alone. So listen when I tell you that the movement that you want stands right in front of where you are. The purpose that you're given is the mission that I've known. We'll both be on the radio. You're finding what you're needing, but it's nothing
I don't feel like I'm Jeremy Egger there on the stage when I'm up there and I'm singing. I'm taking on a whole new character role. It's sort of like the universe is making me become something else, and I'm becoming that because that's just part of the mission of the music, and I'm basically tapping into something. I've always struggled with confidence, and there's always been a lot of self-doubt. It's been a constant battle for me, just because I feel like I have to present myself in a certain way or something, you know. But when I write, I can take my time and sit and just think through things. I like to think through things. And I always give thought to anything that I say, and especially anything that I write. There's always a lot of thought that goes into it. And just having that ability to take my time, I feel like that's just the best avenue for me to express myself. What happened was I was a passenger in the backseat of somebody's truck, and we got T-boned. It was a snowy day, the roads were slick, and we were just coming a little too fast at the intersection, and then he tried to hit the brakes, but we skidded out right in front of the car that was coming, and it hit us at, 20 miles an hour. But that was enough for me in the back seat, who decided I clenched my head really tight like this, and that was probably the worst thing I could have done, because what I did by doing that is it made my brain jar even more so in my own skull. It was just bouncing around like a piece of Jell-O. My head didn't hit anything, or at least I don't think it did, because I didn't have any bruises or anything on my face. It wasn't, it was just like my brain bounced around inside my skull. Later that night, after I got home, I remember going to sleep, and I felt like I was having like abstract thinking and abstract thoughts that I had no control over that. And I don't even know if I dreamed or anything that night, or I can't really remember. It just felt so weird. It was like my brain was an abstract painting of thoughts, just random things firing. And I actually had a calculus test the next day in my math class, and I had studied like that night before, and I managed to ace the test the day after the brain injury. Okay, so that's weird. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, things just kind of compounded. It got worse and worse. It got foggier and foggier. And I do remember like picking up a book though and trying to read it like a couple days after the accident, and it just wasn't sinking into my brain at all. I don't know. I was a clueless teenager. I don't know how things with adrenaline or the brain works. I was coming up with my own excuses at the time of why or what was going on. My parents thought, I must have had a concussion, and that's what was causing a lot of the stuff. So I finally went to a doctor after a couple of weeks of dealing with just not knowing what was going on. He said that I had post-concussive syndrome. You go and you research what that is, and it's just like a broad term describing like anything that could happen symptom-wise after you have some kind of brain injury, whether it could be severe or mild or whatever. So that really didn't give me much to go off of.
Pour me some water, my thirst is strong. This well is dry, I'm vulnerable. Trapped in dark's oblivion, plan my escape while I'm still young. Silent screaming, my passion trumped. I buried thoughts where I belong. Tell them all I will not bow to their deceit for ignorance. Oh, me some water, my thirst is strong. This well is full of ignorance.
I go to a neurologist that's what somebody that the doctor recommended me that I go do, and the neurologist could tell that I had an injury and it was affecting my memory, and he could just tell, like, from talking with me and how I was responding to him, that there was something that was off. I'm sure he's seen so many patients with brain injuries and stuff, he could just tell. And he recommended that I go see a cognitive therapist. One of the things that I struggled with the most was actually oral memory. When somebody would be talking to me and just hearing and trying to put together, like, all the words and the sentences and ideas from somebody speaking to me, my brain was not able to do that very well. One of the tests that she gave me that I remember the most distinctly is she read a short story to me, and this is to test my oral memory. And there were about like 15 basic details in the story. And she just asked me to repeat the story, to see how many of the details I could get. I could remember 2 things out of 15. That's how bad it was. Like, the average person could remember at least half, 7. Knowing myself, because I had a really good memory in high school, I could just, like, pick things up pretty quickly. I probably could have remembered, 10 or 11 of those details prior to the injury, but there I was only able to remember 2. And being tested like that and having that as the starting point and seeing that as my score, that was demoralizing for me. And that was the beginning of the whole thing. And so it was like, okay, I'm at 2 now. Where am I going to be at the end of the summer? By the end of the summer, I was at 4. Okay, so yeah, I improved myself by twice as much, but it still was not 7. And it was nowhere near like where Jeremy Egger was prior to injury, which I could have, done like 9 or 10 or whatever. Most of the bad memories from my accident come from that. You're seeing the progress and you're seeing how slow it is. And it just made it that much more frustrating for me. And then college was starting up right after that. So there I was, I could remember, okay, 4 things out of 15. Now I have to go to college. God, man, that was rough.
Had my daily dose, it caged this curse in me. I want the world to know I'm not a ghost who's free. So let me go and lay my hearts to rest. Tell me how to reach a garden without hurts. I want my lungs to breathe without this rage between. So let it out. Allow my thoughts to rest. this fire in me. I live my daily dose. I need my heart to believe that there is always hope, despite my daily dose, despite my daily dose, despite my daily dose, despite my daily dose.
I guess I shouldn't skip over this part of that summer of hell with that therapist. After leaving one of the sessions, I just had an anxiety panic attack, and that was the day that I ended up in the psych ward at Providence here in Anchorage. So I was screaming at the top of my lungs that I was like, I couldn't stand this anymore and I wanted out. I was parked in my mom's parking lot where she worked in Palmer, that MTA, and she had never seen me like that ever, because I'm usually very quiet, and there I am screaming at the top of my lungs like I want to end it all. So she was, of course, worried. She brought me in to the ER, and then the nurse there, her daughter had experienced a brain injury, and she described to me the story of how, like, I guess her daughter, like, her personality completely changed. I don't really know if I had any of that occur. Nobody's told me, like, my personality has changed, but that happened to be the case with her, and it was very difficult for her as well, the nurse told me, but she made it through, and so that gave me some hope.
Tell me I'm your everything. Build me up until we're one. Falling into atrophy. Holding on to what we lost. Slowly pressing every memory. Won't these feelings today? Hold me, I'm alone tonight. Feed me, I'm alone when it feels so unending. Hold me, I'm alone tonight. See me, I'm alone. Reset and when it feels like a one-man show. Don't you dare untangle me. Tempted by the words you pose. Suddenly remembering all the reasons that we lost. Pushing, needing shoulder, meaning, wanting out of hold me, I'm alone tonight. Feed me, I'm alone when it feels so unending. Hold me, I'm alone tonight. See me, I'm alone. Reset and when it feels like a one-man show. holds me up in tonight. Take my time for this heart to heal. Feel the light. Better luck when it comes next time. Be the one I want to be. Forget this past that's haunting me. Hold me, I'm alone tonight. Feed me, I'm a lonely man. When it feels so unending. Hold me, I'm alone tonight. See me, I'm a lonely sad night. When it feels so unending. Hold me, I'm alone tonight. See me, I'm a lonely sad night. When it feels like a one-man show.
There was a pretty magical moment that happened before I was ever like known at all, and I was just writing songs on my acoustic guitar, and before I was even with Photonak. Would post a lot of acoustic stuff on MySpace when MySpace was a thing at the time. And somebody sent me a message on MySpace out of the blue asking me for a CD because it was something they said that was like really touching to them and was helping them get through some difficulties they were going through at the time. And they wanted to pay for it and everything. And I didn't have a CD that I made. I had like random recordings that I did, and I told them, well, you know, I can just I'll burn a CD for you, and I'll mail it to you. And they wanted to throw money at me. I was like, no, don't take it. This is just like I scribbled with permanent marker like Jeremy's acoustic stuff, and sent it off to them. So the name of this person is Carol Sepulou, and at that time, so this is 2008, she's really well known now for being an ultra marathon runner. She is big in the running community. She lives in Nome here in Alaska. But yeah, at that time, she was going through depression. She was a suicide survivor. When she told me that my music made an impact on her life, and then I was helping her get through stuff like that, spoke to me in such a huge degree that like it made me feel like, oh, so what I'm doing is actually working. It's actually reaching people. It's not just this illusion that I have in my head of some mission that I feel like I have to be on. It's actually it's successful, and that was huge for me. It was really huge for me. That's all it takes. You have these artists who have, you know, millions of fans, and I'm sure plenty of them just, you know, they're just like digging the music. They can't really relate to it. It's not making like a huge impact. So some artists just do music just because, you know, it's cool to experiment with new sounds and stuff. But this is really something where I feel like it needs to bring people out of that dark place that they're in. And the fact that it affected just one person in the way that I intended. Carol is worth 10 million fans to me, honestly. And if that's all I get out of this, too, and with Photonak is reaching just, I don't know, 10 people like Carol, I would feel successful.
Fire anyway. I'm sure soul, I'm trying hard to fool myself.
Hi there, and thanks for joining us tonight. My name is Jason Lassard. I'm the executive director of Nami Anchorage. And first, I wanted to say thank you to Jeremy for sharing his story. Mental illness and brain injuries can be a very isolating situation for a lot of folks, and it's really, really powerful to share one story to let folks know that they're not alone in this and that there are other folks going through this same situation. So thank you again, Jeremy. Thanks to O'Hara. Thanks to John's Home Studio. Thanks to the Anchorage Concert Association, and thanks to the artists who are performing. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Nami Anchorage, who we are, and the work that we do, because we're very thankful to O'Hara for using this opportunity as a fundraiser for Nami Anchorage. And so we are the local affiliate of the National Alliance on Mental Illness. It's the nation's largest grassroots, peer-driven nonprofit that works to make the lives of people that have a mental health condition, as well as their families and friends, better. And so what we do here in Anchorage is we provide support, education, and advocacy for those folks, and follow our mission, which is really recovery, resiliency, and wellness for all. And you can find out more information by visiting our website at namianchorage.org. You can hear about or read about the various support groups we have, educational classes, and some of the advocacy work that we do, both for individuals and down in Juneau. Just say hi to Muggsy, everybody. So you can visit Nami Anchorage, NAMI Anchorage.org. And we have another segment coming up with a Q&A afterwards, so please stay tuned for Cat Moore and The Force That Never Sleeps with part 2. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you on the flip side.
I think the winters, like long, dark, lonely winters makes you tweak a little bit, you know, like there's seasonal effectiveness and that is real. And I struggle against that a lot. And then there's the mania of summer, you know, where if you're a person like, for me, like I said, I'm like 50% extrovert, 50% introvert. So like, I want to socialize and I will socialize like to default, but I still need all that alone time. So then like after everybody goes to bed at like 4 a.m. in the summertime, I'm like, now is my time. So then I stay awake by myself till like 10 a.m. and then sleep for a few hours. And I did that for a lot of years. And I think that that affects the way your brain works and your need for finding ways to cope with it.
I dreamt of the month of November. I didn't need to fear a thing. I wondered if I could remember how to whistle and how to sing. Sing, sing, sing. I'm growing tired of this illness, and I haven't even caught the thing. How can you breathe so free and so guiltless when we are not allowed to sing? Sing, sing, sing. I don't know if things will ever be the same. I wonder if I still have meaning, if my tree falls but no one can hear. This country divided and leaning in the direction of oppression and fear. Fear, fear, fear. body aching, but I should still smile. Always edging till we meet our fate. Fate, fate, fate. I don't think things will ever be the same. I dreamt of the month of November. I didn't need to fear a thing.
Alaska feels very widespread. You know, you're far from people. The landscape is vast and open. Coming from Philadelphia, where I grew up, like right outside of Philadelphia, the population density is so different. And so here there really is just like an actual sense of emotional space in the population density. And, you know, it just really feels distant from people. You get on a plane from Anchorage and fly to Fairbanks, and for, you know, the entirety of that flight until the last 5 minutes, you're over nothing but like pitch black darkness for miles and miles. So there's, I think, like a sense of space and solitude that comes with this state. And then there's also this sense of like majestic beauty that comes from this environment. It's like an extremely, it can be like an aggressive environment, you know, with the snowstorms and that, and a manic environment with the summer sun. And so there's this kind of like sense of extremism in the landscape alone. And I think for me, that's both like something to be reckoned with on an emotional level, as far as feeling existential questions. You know, you're like, wow, I'm a tiny little dot in the middle of this weird vast wilderness, and I could disappear tomorrow, and there it is, you know, where like that sense of space reminds you of your how small we really are. I'm lacking the word right now, but I think there's that. And then I think also the beauty of this place is something that I feel like I constantly just want to share with other people. And so I think a lot of that art comes out of that.
This next tune is called Floorboards. And it was written as a means of therapeutic release when I was stressing. Apparently I stress a ton, and I have to write all this music about it. But this is a song about heartbreak. Take a deep breath, soften your brow. You've been staring at the floorboards for an hour. You've been submerged, take this day head first. Every day we wake, we're given power. And they say words carry a magic. You can change your fate with simple white lies. Maybe all our lives are tragic when we view them through our own eyes. Maybe all this was just habit, and now it's time to say our goodbyes. Say our goodbyes. Say our goodbyes. Say our goodbyes. Take a deep breath, get out of bed. You've been trapped by all the dark thoughts in your head. Relish the light, the beauty of life, all the kindnesses that still have gone unsaid. And they say words carry a magic. You can change your fate with simple white lies. Maybe all our lives are tragic when we view them through our own eyes. Maybe all this was just habit, and now it's time to say our goodbyes.
music, I've been a lifer for sure. Like playing piano is my favorite activity in the universe. And that's always been in my life. And then I, started to play cello in middle school, but again, like very solitarily. I think the first time I ever jammed with another human, I must have been like 22. I'm a weird combination of like extrovert and introvert. It's a real thing. When I'm with people, I'm very extroverted. And you can be like, well, yes, that's what extroverts are. But then I have this very withdrawn sense of self as well that people don't see because it's the withdrawn part. But I spend a lot of time by myself and really enjoy spending a lot of time by myself. I like people a lot. Like I get happy to see people, but I like to just kind of like exist and sort of ebb and flow, at events and stuff. So I'm very solitary. I'm a solitary person in a sea of people that I enjoy being around, if that makes sense.
Neuroses, yes. Been struggling to breathe against the gnawing in my chest. And days go by. I like wearing a mask because you can't see me crying. Bound up too long. Now the salt is pouring out and we're drowning deep in sad songs. We needed this. Music to my ears is a different kind of bliss. Touch of your hand. We're in here, we're in waves, suffocating on the dry land. Reach out and feel. Been living in a daydream, can't remember what it's like to be real. We fell so hard. Nation down, not allowed to go out past our backyard. The fire's blaze. Look into the pyre. It's time to find a new way. Leave home, ride out tonight. Chase a fading midnight light again. When will we learn? Everything was fine until it took a turn. Hope is a whisper in the wind. This is not a mere means to an end. So let go and start to live. You've only got one chance to give. So let go and start.
I think for a long time, like I just kind of existed as this human that was like, I like nature, I like swimming and making food. And then when I really started playing music regularly, like something changed, like a flip switched in my brain. And so then I started writing songs. And then I injured my vocal cords and I couldn't sing. And that's when I started writing poetry. And at that point, like ever since then, it's been really different. Now, like art is absolutely a daily part of my life that I rely on for emotional release, where there was a period when I didn't need that before. So that's where I feel like that artist moment changed. Poetry to me is an extremely solitary activity. You know what I mean? Like I don't do poetry slams. I wish I did. I don't know why I don't. I would love that. And we have really an awesome poetry scene in Anchorage. So many incredible poets. I would love to like go do that, but I don't. I find that like I wake up in the morning and I write a poem, and before I fall asleep I write a poem, and it's like me in my bed just like typing away on my phone, and so it's a really solitary activity, but I get a lot of emotional release out of it. Whereas music is a very communal emotional release, like when you are singing a song where the lyrics have emotional meaning and the piano part or whatever instrumental part, generally for me, I feel like the most emotive on piano. And so when I'm playing piano on a song, for example, like Amplified, which is a song I play with the super saturated sugar strings. And at the end, there's this like really vigorous piano part and this vigorous drum part, and the whole band's just like going, the bass is starting, the fiddle and the trumpet and the cello are just going, wild. And I feel like in those moments, like there is a visceral level of passionate release that comes with that. And that is, you cannot recreate that in poetry. I remember I played a show with the Sugar Strings at Willowa, and it was about a year after one of my friends had passed from cancer. And the last time I had played a show on that stage was with a band called the Chromies. And my friend who died from cancer was supposed to come to that show that night. We were opening for Everclear. It was like such a cool opportunity, and he loved Everclear. And I got him tickets to come to the show, and he ended up in the ICU, and he couldn't come to that show. And that was a really emotional night for me. But I found that it was even more emotional getting back on that same stage the next time with the Sugar Strings, and we played that song, and I just like burst into tears. I like couldn't. I like choked up so much I couldn't sing. And I just remember like there's this part where there's these big triplets on the piano, and I was just beating the living shit out of the piano, just beating it. Like, you know, like I was murdering the notes. Like there was no musicality. I was just beating the shit out of the piano because I was so sad and angry about the fact that, you know, life is unfair and we lose some really great people. I mean, like clearly it gets fired up now thinking about it too, you know, but I think that, you know, hopefully that stuff can come out musically as well as just like a violent release onto a digital instrument, you know. You couldn't have played like a guitar like that. The whole thing would have been broken. But, you know, I think there is something visceral about tactilely being able to express, you know. There's just something, yeah. I mean, it's like dance, that like physical release. And then you couple that tactile release on an instrument with a bunch of other people also just like playing their hearts out, and there's something just untouchable about that, you know.
This next tune is called Late Bloomers. It's for all of us out there who might have learned something a little bit after we needed to. My arms must be growing shorter, for I do not seem to reach out much these days. And my heart must be growing harder, for each time it fires up, it gains a thicker glaze. Why do I cry to the pictures of golden retrievers I see on TV? My bones must be growing brittle, for I cannot seem to fight the daily grind. And my mind must be growing fickle, for I tire of the thrill of smoke and mirrors and lies. Why must we be such a mess when we try to express after every new fall? Oh, we're just late bloomers. Be early to the grave. Just late bloomers. Oh, or we'll just be early to the grave. My dreams must be growing vivid, for I cannot kid myself. They're seeming all too real, and my drive must be growing dried up. I fear each time I start, I'm destined just to fail. Where did I make a wrong
in my lifetime, I have felt a distinctive shift in my mental health. And I would say I've felt two distinctive shifts. There was life up until art. Very I was a very excitable person and really friendly, but I was very, I never was depressed. As a kid, never suffered depression. As a teen, I had a sullen teen year. All through my 20s, totally very mid-range on the emotional spectrum. I felt a lot of joy, didn't feel a lot of sorrow. So I rode kind of at baseline or above. And then I started playing music, and those feelings were these huge spikes. And they were amazing, but then there would be this drop. And that was the first time I ever felt that. And I think it was a come down from the crazy adrenal spikes of performance. And that's when I first noticed it. And then I've always been kind of a night owl. And then my all-nighters became more frequent. And so, and this is all as I was coming back into being a single woman in my 30s after a near decade of being partnered with someone. So then it was I had my own choices about I'll just stay up forever now. And so I started staying up later and sleeping less, having these adrenal spikes from the mania of playing a wild show and then coming home alone and feeling really bad. And it kind of started getting my life started getting more manic. And I never really thought about that until I was in it and feeling these really deep sorrows and realizing that I was creating a lot. Found that the depression that I thought was always just seasonal winter depression started getting worse. And then there was just a lot of hard years, lost a lot of friends. Like I mentioned, I lost a friend to cancer, lost a friend to suicide, lost 2 friends in a plane crash. And the lows became worse, and they just sort of, there was a period in there where things got real bad. And I think it stayed pretty bad for a couple years. But I'm also a person who doesn't like to make other people feel uncomfortable or bad. So when I felt low, I would just retreat and sort of just go into my own world. So if people didn't see me, they'd be like, "Oh, you must be so busy." And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm busy. Really, I'm just really sad." And I'm just not, I'd still do my hustle, but yeah. So I think I was in some really deep depression for a while, especially after my friend's suicide. She was a musician as well. And like I said, you can't replace friends, and their memories with you all the time. And so I've never been clinically diagnosed, but part of that, and I hope that I wouldn't be able to be identified with anything, because I want to believe that I'm a healthy individual, all this stuff, and that I don't have big things that I'm going to have to tackle. But the reality is I think there have been times that were either really, really severe, dangerously severe clinical depression. I have felt some intense things that probably mandated a visit to someone, and I never went. I think the reason I never went was being an artist, for many years I was uninsured, and I didn't feel I had access to mental health resources that I could afford. Part of it was the fear that they would want to put me on meds, and that I didn't know what meds would do to my manic creative energy. I was really afraid of that because, I did become way more prolific when I stayed up all night, because you get in these manic spins, and then, you finally force yourself to go to bed, and you're laying in bed thinking about something. You start thinking about a word, and then it makes you think of another word, and then suddenly there's a line, and then you're up writing it down, and then you're like, okay, I'll go back down, and then you start thinking of more words, and it just it cycles in a really wild way. And so then that means less sleep, which makes you more tweaky and crazy and manic, and then more creative energy comes out of that. So I was really worried that if I ever went on mood stabilizers or antidepressants, that it would just make me kind of baseline again, and that I wouldn't feel moved to create. And I think there is a little bit of truth to that. When I don't feel tormented on a psychological level, which sounds dramatic, but losing people in your life or any kind of traumatic event, whatever it is, whether it's personal or loss or something that happens to your family member or a friend, when we feel trauma, we have to release, we have to process. I look at it now and I'm like, oh my gosh, if I had known, say it were situational depression that I were diagnosed with at the time, after my friend's suicide, knowing that, I could have been oh, wow, there's so much to live for. I just can't see it right now because of the fact that I'm grieving so hard. you know? And so in a way, like all this fear of being identified as this thing actually was really, if I had been identified as that thing, I would have had the tools to understand what it was and move through it faster. And so, you know, thinking of those fears, while they're very reasonable to feel, you know, they are still, you know, they're still really just holding you back from getting the help you need to be able to exist with whatever your brain is feeling or offering you, essentially.
Is it sugar or is it salt? Either way, it ain't your fault. Days go by and I wonder when. Oh, I could see your face again. Yes, I could see your face again. Now I play this old guitar. Someone bashed in your old car. Plastic sheet over the rear. Said, why do we live in a world of fear? Why do we live in a world of fear? Time's been hard. Time's been hard on everyone. But we keep hanging on. We keep hanging on. We keep hanging on to sing our song. They say life is bittersweet. Sometimes lemons are what we eat. But I know I'll make it through as long as I share my table with you. As long as I share my table with you. So may your dreams be good when your days are not. And may we wake up thankful for what we've got. We may not have everything, but we've got each other and we can sing. Yes, we got each other and we can sing. Time goes by, blink of an eye, and then it's gone. But we keep hanging on. We keep hanging on. We keep hanging on to sing our song. Now, if you're home, if you're in your car, if you're at work, I want you to join me in singing if you feel like it. No pressure, but you know. Just if you're feeling it. We keep hanging on, we keep hanging on, we keep hanging on to sing our song. You ready for it? Here it comes. I want to hear every one of you. Here we go. We keep hanging on. We keep hanging on. We keep for singing with me, y'all. Maybe the bad news sets us free. If that's the way it's gotta be. And if the sky is gonna fall, well, I'm just glad I got your call. 'Cause I just thought you didn't want bare bones. And the truth was hidden in my impatience in the end. Now the world is upside down. Mountains, the sky, the clouds, the ground. It falls apart before it starts sometimes.
Good seat. Yes. Should we do the left across?
I get the crack seat.
Yeah.
I get
Like, or should I
sinking
across
into
this
it.
way and give it a turn?
Oh, we're live.
Was it live now?
This feels less like a moderated conversation and more just like a, living room chat.
All right.
Yeah. And we're live, so we should just keep on rolling. Hi, everyone out there in viewer world. Welcome to our fireside chat with O'Hara, Shipe, and Kat, and Jeremy, and Jason, and I'm Anne. I'll be moderating the conversation today. Before we jump into anything really, really deep, I do want to let you know, just a reminder that there is Alaska Caroline is out there. So if any of the songs, if any of this conversation make you think of something and you need more support, they're available 24/7. If you're watching on Facebook, you can go to their Facebook page, just jump off this and go straight there. It's Caroline, Alaska, or 1-877-266-4357. So that's 1-877-266-HELP. And if the kind of stress that you're thinking and you're experiencing isn't mental health related, but it's causing you stress and causing you mental anguish because you need resources, there's always 211.org or call 211. So there are resources available, and we will remind you of that throughout. Other thing to remember is that this is a conversation, and it's a conversation with you, all of you awesome viewers. So type your questions into the Facebook Live chat. We will be able to see them, and hopefully, ideally, we will get to all of them. So hop on in to the conversation. Same goes with all of you all. Jump on. Like, if Jeremy says something that really inspires Jason, jump in. I'm just here as a prop, but and to get you going. So O'Hara, you are the motivation that brought all of us together today, and you created these beautiful, beautiful films.
Thanks.
So I'm curious as to why. Like, why these? Why now?
Yeah, so it actually started back in May 2020 as a project called The Quarantunes. And it was based on a project that a fellow photographer out in LA, Joe Pug, had started photographing his friends and his family on the stoops of their porches because we couldn't be close to each other. And I realized that I had gone several months without picking up my camera and without writing a news story and without creating any art. And I felt myself kind of sinking into a deeper depression, and I realized that I needed to force myself to create some art and to make some connection. And so I went out and photographed people, musicians on their stoop, and that's actually how I met Daniel and Photonak, was through that project. And then fast forward to January, and I found out, January 2021, found out that the Concert Association had partnerships available to create projects, and I got a little nudge from them to say, you should probably apply for this.
Nice.
So we applied for it, and I just kind of swung for the fences. I'd never created a documentary, but it's something that had always been a dream of mine. So I just kind of contacted everyone and was like, hey, do you guys want to just put your faith in me blindly and see if this works? And that's kind of how we got here.
So was it a passion for music, a passion for mental health?
So I myself have major depressive disorder and a traumatic brain injury as well as PTSD. So I already suffer from it. And, music has always been the way that I relate and see the world. I can't create it. I'm not, my hands don't wrap around a guitar, and I tried a clarinet once and it was hideous. But music has always been a way for me to relate to the world. If I have something I want to say to someone, I create them a mix tape. I don't write them a letter. I create music for them, and I curate things. So it's how I express myself, and it's just a different way of, I think, appreciating music. I wish I could play, I wish I could sing, but I can't. So this is what I do.
Give it time.
I did get Smoke on the Water, though, with the Fender series. And watch out, world, I'm coming.
I was hoping you were going to start volunteering to play clarinet for all of us.
It was a clear mouthpiece, too, and it was red, because I was like, this is a great idea, so it always had, spit in it, and I was like, maybe not the best idea.
I think all musicians, though, can relate to what you're saying about, because that's your creative outlet, is doing film and documenting and using your camera. And you're saying you're going into a depression not having that outlet. And I know I can totally relate to that. When I'm not doing music, I don't feel complete. Things start to get dark.
Yeah.
Yes.
You need that outlet.
Right. Well, and I feel like that's how you and I communicate, even just as friends. Like, Jeremy has been this amazing person in my life, this bright light. And there's been some days where he's reached out, and I've just opened up to him and said, hey, I'm really struggling today. Sorry, I might actually tear up. I'm having a really hard time. And he recorded a song and sent it to me, and it was probably one of the most meaningful gifts that someone could have ever given me, you just understood.
Yeah,
Jeremy?
I get it. I get it, O'Hara. I totally get it.
Yeah. I know this project is really it's solidified friendships that I needed in my life really desperately.
Mm-hmm. And just from listening to the interviews and from chatting with all of you a little bit beforehand, Jeremy, it sounds like this is kind of this first phase of your life when you're really opening up about your own traumatic brain injury. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about why you haven't come out with that before.
It's really difficult to want to share your weakness. I mean, it's an insecurity of mine that I call them intellectual insecurities. I don't want myself to feel dumb, and knowing that I had that injury, if I make that known to people, I guess I'm worried, and I still do, even in coming out like this. It isn't easy still talking about it, just because I don't know what people are going to think. And I talked about that in the interview too. I'm worried, what's somebody going to respond to the way, I come off? It's just very difficult to release or make that known. I always feel like I want to be doing things behind the curtain, and I don't want to reveal too much about myself. So, but knowing that it's important for people not to feel like they're alone. Mm-hmm. That's really what motivated me to finally come out and let them know that, hey, I went through some stuff, and I don't want people to feel alone. Ultimately, that's what motivates me now. I want them to know that they're not alone in this, and they can talk about it. I should have talked about it. I should have been more open about it. I think I've been a bad example of not doing that for most of my life, and now's been the time to do that, so that people know, and they can talk about it too.
Has has that openness about your injury, has that come to play in your music as well? Is it shaped?
Well, because that's kind of a new road now. I mean, I'm always writing stuff. I'm sure it's going to come out and works in the future for sure. All of this music that we've had in Photonak and the stuff that I've written for the project, not all of it is personal. Sometimes it just comes out of nowhere, and a lot of it's other stories that I might have come across somebody in my life where it's someone else is going through difficult times. So yeah, I would say like half of the stuff that I've written is not about me.
Do people assume it's about you? And what do you do with that when they make those assumptions?
I'm like, yes.
I totally.
I mean, I'm like, he's so deep. It's really.
I was like, Jeremy, I'm pretty sure this is about your traumatic brain injury here.
I mean, how many different things? I was like, what is the daily dose?
Daily Dose. That was a personal song. That was definitely a personal song, and that was about this brain injury. That's what it's about. It's about going through my daily dose of difficult times and wanting to get out of it. And just you feel like you're in world hurt every day, and every day it's your daily dose of dealing with it, dealing with the struggle. So yeah, one of the songs it's about me.
See over time if you divulge any others. What about you, Kat? At least from the video, it sounded like you're so open about all of you.
I do think I'm a pretty open person. For me, I don't want to be like everything's about me, but no. As somebody who writes to process, it was never conscious. I was like, there was never a day that I was like, today I will sit down and process my emotional spectrum by writing this poem. But it just came out and so it's interesting because I also really like to share, and I think for me there's like a two-part to sharing. I enjoy sharing with people, and I enjoy making something and then sending it off. It's kind of like I picture those lanterns that you light and they fly into the sky, Anyways, so for me, I feel like that's the true sense of emotional release. It's not like crafting it and then setting it on your table so you have to look at it every day. It's like crafting it and letting it go and being like, okay, I made something really beautiful out of that pain and now I'll send it away. And so for me, I just like to send things out into the world. It's a means for me to let go of it. And then as I shared more and more, people would tell me, sort of that same sentiment of, wow, your poems help me, or they're helping me process something that I couldn't articulate in words. And so the same thing with songs. And so for me, sharing both of those so openly, I mean, I'm an open book already. I don't think I could not talk about it. I mean, you could read one poem and be like, oh yeah, she sounds like she gets sad, and then sometimes really, really up. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I'm comfortable sharing it, I think, because I don't want to say I can't change it. We can always take steps to stabilize our mental health through organizations like NAMI or, through our local communities. And, the same way that we work on our bodies by going to the gym, we can work on our brains and our psyches by talking to a therapist or, seeking counsel. So I don't want to say that, I can't change, but I definitely feel like the person that I am as this kind of frenetic and sometimes really sad, individual, like I feel like that is me, and I've found a way to personally sort of craft it into something that works for me to be sustainable and happy in life overall. And so I would like to avoid the deep lows, but other than that, I feel okay with expressing both parts of my being in that sense. And I feel like there is something great about accepting yourself as you are and recognizing that there are people who will have higher spikes and lower lows, and there will be people who are more towards the baseline, and that's okay, as long as we keep ourselves safe at the end of the day, and keep our community members safe, then I think it's great to accept that beauty and diversity in our world, whether it came from an injury or whether it's something that you're just born with, and so obviously there's ways to keep ourselves safe, but all in all, I think it's really beautiful to see everybody's different personalities and to normalize that, because it is really common.
Yeah.
It's incredibly common, I think.
And just recognizing that wellness means something so different to so many different people, and that we need to respect that.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, as you just said, keeping everybody safe.
And I think it's important too. Like, it took me a while to come out as with having major depressive disorder. I think, and with the TBI, similar to Jeremy, it does feel like a weakness, and it's embarrassing to admit when you have memory recall issues, especially as a journalist, and you can't remember somebody's name at the instant they walk out of the room. But something kind of just flipped in my brain, and I think I started to open up to people on Facebook and just say, like, I have this, I'm struggling, and it's kind of opened the floodgates for a lot of friends and setting up safety nets. Now I have people on a call list that, if I'm struggling, because I have suicidal ideations almost daily. That's just part of the way that my major depressive disorder manifests. But now I have call lists and people that I can go down the list that I know will answer the phone if I call, no matter what time of day. And that's my safety net. And I think, it's scary to admit, that you have suicidal ideations. I think because it's the idea of that you might get dropped off at the psych ward and again, yeah. Exactly. And it's like, there's, sometimes it's like, I'm having the ideation, I'm probably not going to act on it. Please don't take me to the psych ward, because that's almost more traumatic. And makes me more boxed in. But having people that I can reach out to now, and sorry, Jeremy, you're on my list of call people. You sent me the song. It's on the phone. I think it's the more that we can talk about it and be brave and tell people, I think the better it's going to be for everyone. So I'm really proud, of Jeremy telling his story, and for Kat for being just so incredibly open about it. I think the more people that do that, I think the better.
Yeah, absolutely. I just really want to interject myself right now and say how proud I am of all of you. Some of you have known longer, some just meeting, but it takes a sense of bravery to confront what's going on with yourself and coming to that acceptance. And I honor that bravery all the time, but it's, you folks are taking another step and opening up to the public about it and being brave, and that's going to do so much to destigmatize and to let people know that they're not alone, and that this, these things are common, right? One in 5 people, adults in the U.S. have a lifetime mental illness, right? And so that's statistically right here, I mean, we've confirmed some of this already, but
I'm not good at math,
but if we were a row of strangers, I mean, it's really just kind of like, counting it out. And so you're doing so much to break down those barriers that people put in front of themselves by hearing your stories and seeing what you do, both telling your stories straight out and through your art, right? That's such a great and powerful way to communicate. So I just wanted to say thank you for being so brave tonight and in general.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, man. And thanks for doing what you do with Nami. It's been so, I have to say, one of our fellow musicians, Emma Hill, is a huge advocate for mental health, and I know she's, you and she have done so much with Nami and her, and she was the one who introduced me to Nami, and I just think that it's great that there's organizations out there doing this work, because when something's stigmatized, you can't even talk about it, and then you have no idea how to get resources. And I think when we talked in the interview about that, I mean, there were so many times when just like a little bit of help would have just totally set me on a completely different trajectory. And but if we can't talk about it, we don't know what's going on, and then if it's stigmatized, we don't know where to go or who to talk to. And so Nami is an amazing resource. It's really great.
Thanks.
Which is a great chance for you, Jason, to talk a little bit more about kind of what do you do and see at Nami? Like, how can you provide these supports, especially supports for folks who maybe don't have insurance and can't go get professional help, or just aren't in that stage where that feels like what they need, but they know they need something?
Yeah, great question, and thank you. So, I mentioned before, Nami is the largest grassroots peer-driven organization, and really it's that peer aspect that is so powerful. Our support groups and classes, whether it's for friends and family or for people that experience mental health condition themselves, are taught and facilitated by peers. They're not clinician-led, it's not therapists, it's people that have that same lived experience. And there's so much power in gathering with people that everybody's experience of their mental illness or wellness is unique in and of itself, but you know that they have a similar experience and they understand some of the things that you're going through and talking about, or even, if it's just complaining about med management, right? There's this understanding that people would have in those settings, and so it's really, really powerful. Half of my board has come to the organization because they came as people that needed that help, went to a class, and it was so transformative that they just felt they had to pay it forward and give back. And so, by contacting us, we can help navigate what can be a really, really confusing system of behavioral health here in Alaska. We can provide the support groups. We have classes, again, designed for other people that experience a mental health condition or for their friends and family members that really goes, they're multi-session, and so it gets into what's going on in the brain, how do meds interact, how can you be an advocate for your loved one or for yourself, how can you de-escalate a situation, and really importantly for friends and family members is how do you care for yourself in all of this. And so I would say a large percent of the folks that we help are friends and family members that are coming looking for answers and understanding and for help themselves, and that's a really important component. That circle around individuals is really important for their recovery. So the more that we can get people feeling comfortable to open up about their situation, especially to their close circle, that's where they're going to find that support, and then we're there to support that circle by instructing them, giving them resources, and helping them to navigate this relationship with somebody. So it's all about that peer level, really, at NAMI, and sharing stories. That's such a big part of the work that we do, right? So we have the MHATS crew, Mental Health Advocacy Through Storytelling, is the youth group that puts on storytelling workshops and events. We work with the police department's crisis intervention team, where we go and have individuals come in and share their lived experience to really open up the minds of these law enforcement officers that maybe don't understand what's going on. I've seen eyes open when one of our peers has gone there and spoke, and after they left, this was when I was in a training, there were several officers that said, I've responded to calls with that individual before, and I just didn't realize that she was capable of this. Well, because they're seeing people at their worst, and so by being able to go out in the public and say you can live a successful life with a mental illness, and many people do, right? Again, if it's 20% of our population, I mean that's massive, and plenty of people have wonderful families and careers and successful, whether it's business or art or what have you. So it's really a lot of it is just kind of modeling that this is possible through the work that we do as well.
Yeah. And I really can relate to what you say about like one story or one little bit, because like when I was listening to the interview with you, Kat, you made just like a half a comment about the mania that all the summer sun brings. Dude, do I feel that. And nobody ever talks about that. They just talk about depression in the winter, but it's the summer mania that...
Crazy.
Yeah.
And that is like the more damaging part, I think, because that's when you can actually go out and like cause danger to yourself, whether you're just like driving after not sleeping for 32 hours or something. There's so much, but we always think of seasonal depression as the winter side, but the hypomania is real.
Yeah.
And especially as somebody like came from outside of the state, you have no idea what to do with it. And nobody tells you about that side of it. And it took me years to figure out, like, oh my gosh, I'm running on empty and this is totally unsafe, And then also just like the fact that you have to then implement different lifestyle choices to compensate. But again, like we hear about depression all the time, but I was like, mania, like that's like what it is when something goes on sale, like sock mania, or like just never knew. But it's a real thing that could be literally, it could be deadly in the examples of, car accidents or other things that you just cause by not sleeping.
Yeah.
But we don't really discuss it that much, and learning about that was really informative to me and helpful.
Yeah.
and we're about to come into that season. So go home, turn off your phone, go to sleep, close the blackout shades, go to bed. That's all I can say.
I'm going to be real honest with the viewers, and then I can't actually read questions that far away with my eyesight. So if there are questions on that screen, I have no idea. So I'll give you that one, honestly. And while we have John over there looking up questions, I am going to drop again the care line number, just because it's a useful thing to write down to give to your friends or to get help being the support network. So it's 1-877-266-4357. And the next question I'm going to ask is does anybody have the time?
That's her muscle.
8:50.
8:50. All right. Do we have any questions on the Facebook Live? No. Okay. I love that.
You're just so good at it, Anne.
Yeah, you've answered everything for all of the...
Let's just wrap it up and go home. Right?
Go, Nami. Go, Nami. Because dude, you're talking about...
I actually have a question for Jeremy and Kat. Now seeing the videos, right, and seeing yourself talk, because it's always a different experience, like saying something in real time and then seeing it back. Like, what did you think? Did you learn any insights about yourself, or like, I guess, did it affect you in any way?
You know what's funny? Is I'm usually really hypercritical of myself, so I thought I was gonna feel that while I'm watching this video, like, I'm like looking at all my hand gestures and body movements and all that stuff, be like, oh man, why did I do that? But I didn't really feel that for whatever reason. I don't know why I wasn't hypercritical this time. I have to think about that a little bit, but I guess maybe it says something about what you did for the video. You did such a good job.
I mean, I thought you did a great job, and you were so animated and passionate, which, you know, and I'm really happy that you saw yourself without a hypercritical eye. Maybe for the first time you're seeing yourself the way that we do, as this like really talented, smart individual. So that makes me really happy to hear that. You're gonna have to just take the compliment. Sorry.
I know. I'm like, I have to agree with that. You know, for me, I thought, man, you can take the East Coaster out of the East Coaster. You can't take the fast talking East Coaster out of the fast talking East Coaster. I was like, wow, do I really talk that fast? I do really talk that fast. But that's what I thought. But then seeing, I don't think I've ever seen myself play piano before, and it's weird because I always think, you know, like, I feel like a pretty fast-talking, awkward human being. But then when I get behind the piano, that's like the one place where I feel like I'm like, I bet this looks really cool. But I can never think about it because I'm always like, I gotta do the things with my fingers. But it like, in my brain, I feel like I imagine it looks graceful when I play piano because I feel like in a perfect place of, like, harmony with this instrument. And not in the sonic sense, but in the universal sense of like harmony, and I think it actually like kind of looks like that. Was calming to see. So thank you for that gift. That was like really neat to see what it looks like from the outside.
It's really like that. I mean, you know, Jeremy, you talked about you would consider yourself successful if you reached 10 carols, and to me, like, I feel successful in that you guys are seeing yourselves as the way that I see you. Which is just these like really brilliant minds and talented artists. So like, you guys are giving me a really pretty amazing gift, knowing that you're finally seeing the reflection of who you really are, which is not the hypercritical person, but these just like brilliant beings. So
I remember I texted you that one night. Was I wish I could see myself the way that you see me.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. Like, my mirror is still... I'm still looking at my own self. But I'm glad that that's a huge gift that you guys could give me. And that makes me really happy because, I mean, you all know I was sweating up a storm before we got started.
No, this was really cool. And it was so... just the thoughtfulness of the whole project. I'm just so excited that this is in the world now.
Same.
I feel like we got to see you manifest all your gifts to help our community in a time when our community is like so
people need this right now.
And what a great time, like, as we can start to, you know, reconnect, and when we're coming out of this strange time where we're full of like extra self-doubt, and to be able to share a program like this I feel like it's really comforting and reassuring to be like, oh, we're okay. And we're okay now. We can go see our friends soon safely. And
Right.
and the timing was impeccable and the program was really cool.
Well, it is Mental Health Awareness Month, so.
Yeah.
What's next for this project? Like, are there more videos? Will this be posted somewhere for eternity?
I'm sweating again. So originally, and I think John Larson, who really needs a shout out because he's operating the camera right now. Sorry, John. We originally were going to try to do 4 in one day, which would have been absolutely insane. I think we're both like, oh man, what were we thinking? So I'm hoping to create 2 more with the original cast, which was going to be Emma Hill. Hi, Emma. And Ed Washington. Because I want to represent all different people on the spectrum. I think when we talk about mental illness, a lot of times you paint it over with the same brushstroke. And I think it's so important to talk about different things. So Kat represents, seasonal affective disorder and then possibly mania. Jeremy's a TBI. Ed, I know, suffers from major depressive disorder, and Emma, who's a huge advocate as well, schizophrenia, I believe, and bipolar. So I would like to be able to tell those stories as well, so that we reach more people, and it's more relatable. I think the biggest thing is funding. We really we did this on a crazy small shoestring, and very much DIY'd everything, and it wouldn't have been possible without people like John donating his time for free, which is amazing, and the Concert Association, helping defray costs. If I could find funding, I really want to continue to make these. And I know Jason and I talked about it early on. Like, we'd love to have a big screening at Fairtooth and make a real thing out of it. So that's the goal. I mean, I'm definitely going to take a breather.
Well-deserved breather.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little break because I think my own mental health needs a recalibration. But I really hope that this is something that I can finish the way that I want and to have more of it, as long as John, aka my ears, sticks around.
So I have a question, and this is just personal inquiry. But, if you were to take this to the next level, if there are people watching today who want to donate towards that, who do they contact?
Ooh, I haven't even set anything up because I was just hoping money would go to Nami. It's a good idea. Maybe I might set up a GoFundMe or a Kickstarter campaign, because I think there's interest for the project, and I think it's something that people can relate to, and it's not geographically specific. And when we did the interviews, I very specifically chose not to ask you about COVID and isolation because I wanted this to be an evergreen that could reach more people, because I think it's too easy to paint mental health right now in particular with the brush of like, it's COVID, so yeah, of course we're depressed. And it's like, well, and I was actually kind of depressed beforehand. So I wanted to make sure that this stays evergreen and that it's something that people can relate to. But yeah, I think maybe doing a Kickstarter or something would be a great idea. Thank you, Kat.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Gotta know where to send it. But in the meantime, until that's set up, send all your money to Nami.
Please.
And how would one donate to Nami?
Visit us at namianchorage.org. There's a donate button, of course, but I would also ask you to just kind of surf around the page and check out our resources. You may not need them now, but again, mental illness is really prevalent, and there is undoubtedly somebody in your life that has it, and so knowing the resources that are available there could be a help down the line. But of course, yes, there is the donate page as well. So we love the funding to keep this program going. So thanks in advance for all the donations.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for sharing your time today. Thank you to all the viewers. Remember that mental health does span all cultures, all locations, and so turning to trusted loved ones, people from your religious background, from your traditional background, traditional healers. A lot of people have a lot of different approaches to mental health, and it's not a one size fits all, and it's not a Western thing. So looking at it through a lot of different lenses is a pretty important thing. So I want to say thanks to Jason and Nami, Kat Moore, we've got O'Hara Shipe, and Jeremy Egger. Also as well, thanks to John Larson, who donated his time and his space for this, to the Anchorage Concert Association, and everyone else who has contributed to this project and is going to contribute to this project and to Nami in the future. Have a lovely night, and if you need help, Caroline, Alaska, or Nami is there for you. Night.
Bye, everybody. I don't know for so long.
Oh, it's so great to hang out with all of you.
Yeah, like humans.
Yeah. Real mouths.